Bill O'Reilly is not a fan of the internet. He's going to express that here in typical curmudgeonly grandpa fashion. Let's watch.
Same thing. You heard about this. Facebook shuts out conservative postings, all right, in favor of liberal postings. And the guy who's in charge of that, Tom Stocky, apparently he and his wife gave $5,400 to Hillary Clinton. Right. There's Tom. And I've been saying this from the jump on Yahoo and these other deliverers. You can't find conservative opinion on them. And everybody goes, oh, you're crazy, it's an aggregate, it's this, it's that. I go, baloney, there's human beings making
No, this is false advertising. They're saying this is a mathematical algorithm that's used. It is baloney. And this is what, look, there's some whistleblower saying we stepped on conservative content and propped up liberal content. And now this guy who's in charge of content is a Clinton donor.
Tom Stocky.
It doesn't look very good for him.
And he looks like he's like 16 years old. Put his picture up there again. When I saw this guy, I thought they were remaking Leave It to Beaver. And he was going to play Wally. But these guys, they're in their 20s, they're young people, and nobody's looking at them. There's no editor there. They can throw up what they want to throw up.
They can. It's a private company. They can do anything they want. But the conservatives to understand that Facebook is not treating conservatives fairly.
I don't think Yahoo is, and I don't know about Google. I don't go there very much, but I think that whole internet is stacked against any kind of traditional conservative thought. Last word.
I just think Facebook needs to make sure that the American people, their consumers, liberals, conservatives, independents, understand that they are being treated fairly, and I don't think the evidence proves that right now.
All right, I have so much to say about this. So first of all, there was this scandal the other week about how conservative news is being suppressed on Facebook. Okay, I literally do not know what that means. What does that mean? So, because if you were to say to me liberal news is being suppressed somewhere, I would say, I don't know what that means. Or my reaction might even be good, because I don't want news with a liberal slant or a conservative slant. I just want news. If you tell me beforehand, like, oh, I'm going to bias it this way or that way, I'm not interested in that. Just give me the facts. Give me the information. That's all I care about. So when they say, oh, the conservative news is being suppressed, if what you mean by that is, hey, websites like WorldNet Daily and the Daily Caller and the Drudge Report are not often prominently featured on Facebook, my response to that is good, because those websites have a track record of being fucking hack websites that simply make shit up. Like WorldNet Daily, for example, they literally ran a story about, they said a demon ran in front of the camera when Obama was getting off a plane when he did a visit to Africa. If that's the kind of conservative news that's being suppressed, suppress that all day long. Why? Not because it's conservative, but because it ain't news. By the same token, if you come to me and you say, hey, I got this article from a conservative news site that says that creationism is true and evolution is bullshit, I'm going to tell you to fuck right off. And you can go whine all day long about, conservative bias because you won't run the story about how evolution isn't true. Well, you're a whiny little bitch, and ironically, you're doing PC outrage. Because you're not telling me exactly what I want to hear all the time. Therefore, I'm outraged. Well, I thought you guys were against political correctness. Now you're arguing for political correctness. They haven't treated conservatives fairly. What does that mean? What are you saying? Oh, it's bias against conservative news. Well, again, if that means you're taking non-news sites that pretend to be news sites and you say, let's not run those, I say, great, because it ain't news. So I don't know what that means when they say conservative news is suppressed. And by the way, I don't even really believe it. Like, you're telling me, for example, so if there's a story that's true that happens to be a plus for the conservative side, they're not running those stories? My ass. Go back and check what happened with the rollout of Obamacare. Remember when the rollout was botched and it was fucked up, and that made the conservatives look good at that point in time? Okay, those were news stories that were seemingly had a conservative bias that was true. So Facebook didn't have any articles about that. Really? None of those were, prominent at the time, even though it was the #1 news story. I don't believe it. I'm sure they ran that because it's true, okay? And I also do believe that, it's an algorithm and this and that and whatever, gets read the most, that rises to the top. Okay, that's almost certainly the real explanation. And by the way, if that is exactly what happened, well, then you're not suppressing conservative news. It just failed in the marketplace of ideas. How glorious is this? The same fucking thing. I've heard people on the right say this. And by the way, I agree with them when they say it. When they say, oh, what do you mean? There should be a marketplace of ideas, and so you don't censor anything. You let everything free flow. Marketplace of ideas, and the best ones rise to the top. Well, if that's what happens on Facebook, how massively ironic. Because it's like they want affirmative action for conservative so-called news to place it up there with the more popular news that's actually true, that you say is liberal, but we say is just true. So that's the real point here is all of a sudden these guys who supposedly believe in the free marketplace of ideas, when they get their ass kicked in that free marketplace of ideas, they're like, no more free marketplace of ideas, please, no more free marketplace. Hilarious. No, I've always said from day one, I believe in the free marketplace of ideas. And by the way, that's why conservative thought gets its ass kicked on the internet. O'Reilly's right that on the internet, it's a bastion of liberalism. Why? Because we win in the free marketplace of ideas. It turns out evolution is true. You know, it turns out your religiosity and your bullshit fundamentalism doesn't fly online because we smell the bullshit from a mile away. Now, are there other areas where it's perhaps more nuanced? Sure. Can you have differing opinions on taxes? Sure. But that's on the internet. So, okay, one more thing. I know I'm dragging on here, but did you see who O'Reilly was talking to there? He was talking to a representative of Citizens United. You know what Citizens United is? They're a conservative nonprofit group. They're most famous for the Citizens United Supreme Court case where they were on the side of money equals free speech. Hey, Bill, you'll forgive me if I don't take seriously the opinions on free speech from somebody from Citizens United. The most preposterous position ever taken in a Supreme Court case in human history. We have a right to buy politicians and to make them our puppets. We have a right to corruption in America. Why? Because free speech. That ain't free speech, bitch. But that's the argument they make. And now, somebody from Citizens United comes out and he wants to lecture us all on free speech. Let me tell you something about free speech. No, let me tell you something about free speech, dipshit. So you say money equals free speech. Okay, then come out tomorrow and argue that prostitution should be legal. I'll wait. Why? Money speech. If I'm giving money to a prostitute for a blowjob, I'm just expressing my speech about how much I love blowjobs, and that can't be illegal. That's free speech. So come out and argue for that. Come out and say all drugs need to be legal. Why? Money speech. When I give money to my drug dealer and I take the drugs, well, that's just me expressing how much I love drugs with speech, because money is speech. Here, I'm giving you some speech and you can give me back a product. So you want to be consistent? Make that argument. You're not going to make that argument because you're not consistent. You're just pro-corruption. So I don't take your thoughts on free speech seriously because you've proven every step of the way you got no clue what the fuck you're talking about. And it's just the guise to buy politicians, and in this case, ironically, suppress liberal thought while unfairly propping up your conservative thought by giving it affirmative action on the internet.